right, welcome to another one of my review videos. Today we're going to be reviewing a premium Bible. This is from Humble Lamb. This is the NKJV translation, the New King James Version. This is called the Shepherd's Edition. Okay, it's Amethyst Goatskin. And it's from this company called Humble Lamb. Now, as far as I know, they're a relatively new company, a small company, who can't really keep up with their, keep the supply up with their demand, because apparently they're always out of stock. I don't know if the demand's all there either, but today I'm going to tell you what you need to know before you spend $220 on this Bible. That's right. $220 it's going to cost you for a Humble Lamb goatskin edge-lined NKJV Bible. But there's some very important things you need to know, not only about the Bible, but about the company. Things you're going to want to know before you make a purchase decision. So, before I get into all that, let me go ahead and give you a good, fair overview and some high-res imaging of the various features and all that. And then I'll give you the nitty-gritty on what you need to know to make a purchase decision. So, like I said, this is an Amethyst goatskin. This is called Mauritian goatskin or Meridian goatskin. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's kind of a purple color. And to give you an idea, this is a navy blue goatskin by Allen. This is a black goatskin by Allen. This is a blue cowhide by Steadfast. So that should give you a pretty good idea of how the color compares. And I'm doing that because I'm on this nice mahogany background here, a table that I built. Anyways, so let's go ahead and take a look at the cover. This is a kind of a fairly soft, pliable goatskin. It's got a nice texture to it. I would say that the suppleness of this goatskin is very comparable to that of my Clarion, my NASB goatskin Cambridge Clarion. Similar flexibility, although, oh, got some dust from my backpack in there. Although this is a synthetic liner. The actual firmness of the cover is very similar. The texture, the feel, the softness of it is very similar. Now, I would say it's also very similar to the Cambridge Revere Clarendon. This is a newer one, the 2022 with the Cyclopedic Index. Okay, it's very comparable to that. Now, when we're talking about real high-quality goatskin, the most luxurious, supple, softest, the best goatskin I've ever had on any Bible is this Allen Reader's Edition. This is the most luxurious goatskin there is. This is not in the same class as this Highland goatskin from Allen. Slightly, I say I slightly prefer this over the Cambridge. Now the goatskin on the Cambridge itself is really cool because it's got kind of a slick looking texture, but it's the liner that kind of messes up the feel. But the goatskin itself is really nice. It's got a pebbly kind of feel to it. It's got a hard feel on the outside, but it's actually very soft. This is a soft kind of goatskin as far as being flexible, because it's got the goatskin liner, but it's still got kind of that slickness on the outside, so it's kind of similar. Very much like this Allen Clarendon as well, although the Clarendon, I want to say, just slightly softer. In any case, that's about the best I can describe it for you until you actually fill it with your own hands. So that's all I'll say about that. It's not the best. This is the best. It's not quite as good as the Skylers either. I would say slightly behind the Clarendon. On par with the Cambridge Clarion. Okay, that's my opinion. Now it's got two little ribs here on the spine. I'm not sure whether I'm put 2 and 2. Either way, whatever. It's very simple, and I like that it's simple. It's got the Word of God in gold right here. It looks like a decent print, I suppose, here. I don't know how long that'll last, but I like it simple. I also really like the Allens. Allens are very classy. You got them here with Holy Bible in the front, and I love that too. And you got them here with nothing except on the side, and it's either way, very nice. So let's take a look at the liner. Now the liner's a real nice texture. It's a black liner. You can see that, oh my, I've got dust from my backpack in here. It's been getting all over the place. Anyway, it's got a little texture to it. You hear that? This is much smoother texture here in the inside. This is extremely smooth here, right? So it's a real, it's a decent a liner right here. I mean, I like it. It's got a nice kind of shiny texture to it, and Humble Lamb, Shepherd, New King James Version. It's edge-lined. Now, here's something that you should know, all right? One of the problems I had with the Clarion, as you'll see in my other review, was that the liner wasn't quite under the fold-over. So over time, the edges of the fold-over would come out from under there, and it'll start to separate. You don't want that, okay? So, what they do is, as you'll see here, you got perimeter stitching, okay? The 316, also perimeter stitched, albeit this is paste down. So the liner's not under the fold over right here, right? It's actually glued on top of it. But this is stitched all the way around. Now, I don't know if this liner goes all the way to the edge. It doesn't really feel like it goes under the stitching. I'm not sure. Okay, but you can see that it doesn't seem to peel out from under it when you bend it a little, so it may last over time. But what I do not like about this, that I see as kind of inferior in its design, is look how narrow the fold over is. Look how thin it is. Even the Clarion. It's got a thin fold over, but it's substantial enough to go over the whole liner. Look, see, it's actually wider than this one. And this is perimeter stitched, but the perimeter stitching doesn't actually pierce the liner as far as I know on these. Nevertheless, it seems like they've actually got this going under. Now, how long it'll last, I don't know, because like I said, this is such a thin fold over. Just to give you an example, this is the Allen. Now, Allens are not perimeter stitched, but these guys do it right. Look at that. Nice, generous fold over. Look how much wider it is here. This liner is never coming out from under here. Another one. There you go. Look at that. Nice, generous fold over. It's never going to come out from under here. Allen does it right. They do a great job. Now, anyway, that's one thing. You know, maybe something to you, maybe nothing. But I felt that that is important to point out. I do not like a really thin fold over. I like a substantial enough fold over, because we're talking about a $220 Bible right here, okay? So, that's the liner. That's the edge lining. Mauritian goatskin or Meridian goatskin. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. But either way, some kind of supposedly fancy goatskin. Not quite as luxurious as the Allen. This is not the top-notch goatskin I've ever tried before. It's not going to blow your socks off, but it's nice, okay? Now, let's talk about the features real quick like. And I'm going to revisit this because it's important later, okay? Real important. But you don't have a whole lot in the way of introductory pages and signing pages or anything like that. And if you know my reviews, you know that I don't care for all that dedication pages and all that stuff and deaths and marriages or whatever. That's just me. Now, if I was a preacher and it was a preacher's Bible, maybe I'd want to keep track of all this stuff. But I am liking this here. Now, for whatever reasons, I find these little blue speckles here around these first pages. I don't know where they came from. They seem to come from the printing process somehow. It's not something I can scratch off, but I'm not really sure what that is. I've seen a couple around here. But let me go ahead and move on. So not much in the way of the front matter features, okay? Now let's go to the back, okay? The back is very straightforward and 22, okay. This is a concordance. These are the maps, okay? You get a few maps. Maps are pretty good. They're a little bit shiny, not quite as firm as the other maps and the Skylers or the Cambridge or that. They're a lot more flexible paper, which is fine. They're a little shiny, good quality printing. They got little charts. I don't like as much as the Skyler, but they're decent, okay? Then you got the concordance. Now, like I said, this is an important thing I need to revisit later to explain why, but I want you to just take a note. Look at this as a concordance, okay? That's it. That's all there is. Not a real exhaustive concordance either. I mean, you got, a fair amount of terms in here, but not a whole lot of entries per, not a whole lot of references per term, all right? Why is that important? Like I said, I'll revisit that. So you got the concordance, the maps, and that's it. Now, you talk about a real plain Jane Bible. It's the Legacy Standard from Steadfast. Text-only Bible. No references. No maps. Nothing. But they do give you a healthy little supply of this nice dot matrix paper. And it's beautiful paper. It's really great. It's really great to write on. And it's handy to have these little notes in the back. All right. Clarion. Now Clarion, you got to keep in mind, is a very compact Bible, a very small Bible. Yet it features an extremely readable font, and it's able to fit 95,000 references for the NASB here, all in this tiny little Bible. So what you get here is a concordance. You get some other resources. You get a guide to your Bible maps. Okay? No paper. What's the trade-off? Portability. Okay? Portability. But most other time you'll find no paper in the Allen. Very nice. No paper. Very nice. Okay? No note paper here. Now, I would rather have the note pages than to have the front matter. That's just me. Okay? But like I said, I'll revisit that in a while and explain to you why that's important to note. But let me go ahead and go back here to the front part. When I first got this, there are two things that really irritate me. Okay? One is when I buy a brand new expensive Bible and then I get a bunch of wrinkled pages. Now, I've done a very good job here, okay, and I'll take credit for it, of flattening out all the creases and wrinkles and all the pages here. Several pages have lots of wrinkles all the way up to here. It came creased and wrinkled, okay? I really irritates you to get a brand new Bible. If you want to give it away to somebody, you can hand it to them and they'll be like, what is it used? Because it's got all these wrinkles and creases in it, right? Well, you can still see all the wrinkles in this one. This one was really bad when I got it. You can see the lines there everywhere, but I've done a good job of flattening it out. Here in Texas, we have a very humid environment. So if you really flatten the pages out and then set something on top of it for a day or two, it'll really do a good job. But one thing I've learned is that you do not try do not do anything else other than that in the natural environment, because you'll just make it worse, right? But anyways, that's one thing that I didn't like. But here's what happened. Because these pages were not during the art gilding, right? Since this page was not laid out flat like the other pages, you could see here where the art gilding bleeds over the page, right? Now, I'm going to show you more about this art gilding in a minute. So, that's a little bit irritating. You know, brand new Bible, all these wrinkled pages, and then you get the art gilding bleed here, all right? That's one thing. Now, let's take a look at the gilding. This is kind of a satin gilding. It's not a real shiny one. That might be a good thing. In my experience, the satin kind of gilding seems to be a little bit more wear resistant. Now, when you have a, well, let me see if I can find one. Nope. I guess I've done a good job of, oh, here you go. Little bitty, tiny, just from twisting the cap off the water bottle. You know, sometimes you do it real fast and the water that's under the cap kind of flings out. Just tiny little water drop in it messed up the gilding. But other than that, I find that the satin kind of gilding that's not real glossy, you know, seems to hold up. I don't know if this will or not, but I want you to take a look at something here. Now, I don't know why. There's no bends on the gilding here. There's no dents or anything on it, but for whatever reason, there are little spaces. I do not know why it's that. I've examined the edges of the pages and everything, trying to figure out where these imperfections, there's several imperfections. Hopefully you can see that in the light here. Just all over the place. And I've looked to see if there was like some kind of marring on the gilding or something, but there's nothing, no scratches, no bending, nothing. It just seems like somehow the foil or whatever it was they put on there didn't apply evenly or something. But take a look at that. There's no bending of the pages or anything. No scratching of the gilding. It's perfectly fine, but for whatever reason, see, you got some of these little areas that just don't look like they're covered. I don't know why that is. But I suspect, I think I know why, but we're getting to that now. Now I want to show you something about this gilding, all right? We're talking about a $220 Bible here, all right? Let's open it up, okay? You open it up and check out the art gilding. You got gold and purple, right? See all these lines over here? Look at that. White, 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 all the way down. Now, just for comparison's sake, here is here's an Allen. You spread it out and look at that. Solid color. Here's the Steadfast. All right. Now, keep in mind, I've heavily used this Bible. It's gone through a lot of time in my backpack, toting it around everywhere. Yet, here you go. Nice and pretty much solid blue with only a few lines here. Okay? And I think that really just comes from a lot from the wear, because I've used this a ton. This is my favorite right now. Not necessarily because, it's steadfast and the quality and all that, but this translation is fantastic. Here is the Allen. Little Clarendon. Open it up. Nice and red. You got a few little whites here, but that's because I got the ribbons in there. All right. If I kind of flatten it out and nice and red all the way down. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I figured it out. But okay, one more. So I show you several examples. Check that out. I'm really fanning out this Clarion, and look how beautiful. Nice solid salmon color all the way down. But then you look at this $220 Bible, okay? And look at that. I don't know why. Well, I think I know why. After watching many videos of how they make Bibles, I don't think that the pages were perfectly flattened before they put the gilding on there. Let me show you another thing. Just to emphasize that, I'm going to show you several consecutive pages. Now notice how much the art gilding bleeds here on the side of the page. Here's the next page. Look how much the gilding bleeds here on these two pages. But look, the next page, no bleeding. The next page, no bleeding. The next page, a lot of bleeding. Look how sloppy and uneven this art gilding is. Bleeding, bleeding. A lot of bleeding, some bleeding, noticeable, right? No bleeding, lots of bleeding, no bleeding. And you got this all the way throughout this whole thing. The art gilding sucks. It's very uneven. You want me to show you an example? Look at this. Nice and blue all the way across, right? No bleeding on any of the pages. Not at all. Here's another Bible, different company. Look at that. Look how beautiful Cambridge does their art gilding. None of the pages have any bleeding whatsoever. Perfect. Allen's, look at that nice solid color all the way down. Look at that. No bleeding. None. Not anywhere. Look at this. I mean, my opinion, this is $220 Bible with this sloppy, uneven gilding. I'm sorry, but I believe that's a legitimate gripe. Okay? Let me show you something else. This is one thing, personally, that really irritates me. Okay? Because let me show you something. Whenever they put a Bible together, they got the cover laid out flat. And they basically lay this in there. Now the edge lining and all that, it's a more involved process and all that. But basically, they set this thing on top and the ribbons are glued in between there. See that? So they lay the ribbons out and they glue it on top. How hard is it to lay your ribbon straight and glue it in there? Right? Now, for example, look at the Allen Bible right here. Perfectly straight ribbons. Beautiful. Cambridge ribbons. In case you're wondering all that dust from my backpack, I got a brand new backpack. And for whatever reason, there's this little dust in there. All right. Look at those ribbons. Look how they're set in there nice and neat. They don't want to like go out this way or that way, nice and straight, right? Another Bible, a third Bible. Look at the 316 ribbons. Let me pull them out a little bit. Look how they stay nice and straight in there. A fourth Bible. This is the Allen. Allen is perfect. Always, Allen does their stuff well. Now let me show you some cheap study Bibles. Look at their ribbon. This is Zondervan. Ribbons are nice and straight, evenly spaced on each side. One more. This is a MacArthur Study Bible. Not the greatest ribbons in the world, but look, they're nice and straight. So now, these two put together wouldn't cost as much as this one, okay? So now we look at this Humble Lamb ribbons, which, by the way, the ribbons themselves are very nice, which is really unfortunate. Because these are some nice ribbons. They're nice and wide. They remind me of the Skylar ribbons. Really nice. They got a, if you look at them in the light, they got a nice little texture on it, beautiful color, nice ribbons. But why on earth? Okay, now I'm going to lay this, I'm going to set this Bible right here straight across like that so you can see the angle. Okay? Now, this is the extreme angle that these ribbons want to lay. Look at that. They want to go this way. Oop, let me get my hands all the way. All right. These ribbons want to go off this direction. Now this one is all twisted. There's no way to straighten it out. You can't even lay it one way or the other because it's scrunched up and twisted in there. Look at that. See if you can get a close-up of that. You can't fix that. It's glued in there like that. Every now and then, you'll get a Bible that you can kind of tug out a little bit and it'll just come, because sometimes the glue gets on the ribbon itself and kind of stick. But this is actually, see if you can get a close-up right here. It's actually folded 3 ways. So what happens is when you're, say on this side of the Bible, right? Your ribbons want to naturally kind of go one direction or another, but look at that. It doesn't want to sit right. You got to kind of turn it this way. You got to put more effort into putting your ribbons in the page and folding it over. And then when you're in the middle of the Bible, look at that. It wants to lean way this way. So instead of naturally falling in like it should, look, it wants to twist. And then if you turn it this way, look what happens. You have a bigger loop over here you got to put at the end. And then you got to turn it the opposite direction. Okay? And lay it in there. And look how much trouble it is. You can't even do it fast. So we go on this side of the Bible. Now the ribbon wants to go way back on the other side in the Old Testament. So we got to go the opposite direction here. Pinch a little loop there at the end. Put this in there the opposite direction than there. Now look at that. There's nothing tidy about that. And then not only that, because they're not nice and flat, what happens is as you're flipping your Bible back and forth, referencing different books and things as you're studying, these ribbons sometimes tend to kind of pull towards it. And what it does is starts to get real tight at the top. And because they're twisted, they start kind of bending your gilding at the top. If they're nice and flat, now look, this Cambridge I've used a ton. And look, it doesn't ever mess up or mar the gilding here. I've got more marring on the gilding from my backpack than the ribbons. Why? Because they're in there straight. Same thing with any of my other Bibles. I've used this 316 Bible a ton. Carrying it everywhere, and look at that. And these are index cards, by the way. Never does it because they're in there straight. You get these sloppy ribbons glued in there, haphazard, and then they don't behave when you try to put them in there. Over time, they get more supple and they'll just kind of fall in place and all that. But look, they're never going to behave right because they want to go off all in wild directions. Why can't they just lay the ribbons out straight and glue it in there? I don't know. Everybody else does it. As I've already showed you, several other Bibles, expensive and cheap. None of them is expensive as this, except the one Allen. Actually, this is actually cheaper than this one, a little bit. So, yeah. Personally, I hate sloppy ribbons. Maybe it's just me, but I still believe it's a very legitimate complaint. Now, so you got the wrinkly pages, you got look at the inconsistent art gilding. Bleed up at this corner, bleed, bleed, and then you get over here a few pages down, bleed. But then you get other places in the Bible, no bleed, a little bit of bleed, slight bleed, a lot of bleed. I mean, it's just all over the place. And then when you fan it out, look how uneven the art gilding is. All right. So let me show you something else. All right. Now this paper reminded me of something, of another Bible that I had. And I think it was something I traded a while back. I had used that Bible a lot. And I got very familiar with the feel of it and the look of it and the way it looks in different kinds of light because I used it for studying. And this reminded me a lot of that paper. Now this is decent paper, okay? But as you can see in this light here, I've got a lot of natural light in this room. Check out the ghosting here. This is 32 GSM, okay? Now, one thing I noticed, when you see a lot of review videos, people have set one Bible on top of another. And I always wonder, the height of that to the camera, how much difference that would make in what ghosting you actually perceive. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to set this off to the side so it'll be level at the same height, right? And we'll take a look here. Now, this is 32 GSM paper. All right. This is 32 GSM paper from the Netherlands. This is the legacy standard. Now, here we got 32 GSM paper and 32 GSM paper. Same weight, Netherlands paper, not Netherlands paper, okay? Look at the difference here. You can tell that this here has less ghosting. All the line matching makes it a lot more readable. This here kind of has a little bit of an illusion because there's more spacing. This is much more compact here, but this is also a smaller Bible, personal size, okay? Yet, when you actually look at how much is coming through, this is a lot less opaque, but same paper weight. So not the greatest paper in the world here, okay? Now this is some mighty fine paper. Mighty fine. Let's see if we can put them right. The exact same point on the camera. Here and here. Look at that. Well, that's there. Okay. Now this paper is the best thing about this whole Bible. This is incredible. I love this Royal Youngblood Netherlands Dutch. I don't know what it is. Let's see. This is handy size. Where is the? Well, I guess it doesn't say. I do remember something about. I don't know if it's the Indo-Pac, the same thing. As far as I know, Schuyler paper and Cambridge use the same paper. I don't know if 316 or Steadfast does too. So you've seen 32 and 32 GSM. Now this is 28 GSM. This is the Cambridge Clarion. Cambridge is a little bit of a special Bible. Outstanding. This is an outstanding Bible, and I love it so much because of this text block. This is the same kind of paper, or at least it's made by the same people that make the Schuyler paper. This is 28 GSM. Watch that. Side by side. 28 GSM, 32 GSM. Lighter weight paper, but look how much more opaque this looks. Obviously, this is a superior paper. Look at the text here. Oh, you just got in this light, there's a lot of natural light in here mixed with artificial light from this side. So when you have that kind of lighting, it'll show, because you're getting, like, I guess, different shades of light, artificial and natural mix. So it'll kind of tend to kind of get up under this text somehow, or reveal ghosting that you wouldn't normally see when you're just studying under a regular light, right? But I did this on purpose because I wanted to get a really good objective view, and you could judge between these two papers. Now, another thing, look how compact this all is. And this is paragraph format, not verse by verse. And look at all the spacing you have here. Yet, at the same time, look at this text. I mean, okay? So, now, that's 32, 28. This is 36. 36 GSM paper from a cheaper Bible that has superior goatskin. Look at that. Oh boy. Look at the beauty of this Netherlands paper from Allen. 36 GSM. Not a whole lot weightier, a lot more weightier than that. Look at this. Well, hold on. The shadow's kind of getting up under there. There we go. Look at that. So let's move this one over here to this side where you see how when I move it here, you get the ghosting come out. Over here, it disappears. All right. So now we can get a better look right here. And look at that. Equal lighting. Look at that. Look at this beautiful readable font. Granted, you have plenty more space, a lot of space here. Very spacious. That does help making it easier to read. Yet, when you compare the paper, especially the feel of it, and it's so much easier to turn the page. This paper itself has kind of a bit of a, it's not the kind of powdery feeling paper as the Netherlands paper, as any of these three, all right? This is kind of got a consistency, a slight satin kind of sheen to it. Not really sure, but this paper is very similar to a Thomas Nelson, not the high-end premium ones, but kind of middle-of-the-road kind of paper that I had on, that is in another Bible. Center column reference Bible. They go for about like 50 or 60 bucks. They have like genuine leather, but they're not the premium line. This, I want to say, is the same kind of paper. And I suspect that it also is, and I'll show you that in a minute. But let's take a really cheap Bible I got for a study Bible I got for 25 bucks. This is a Zondervan Bible. Curiously enough, a Zondervan has a very decent paper with their cheap Bibles. Look at that. Look how nice the print is here. And this is a much smaller font. Look at that. Very readable. So I'm not going to say this paper is anything to write home about. And I'll show you why in a minute. Probably will explain it. But it's really hard to read these little subscripts and verse numbers and references. Now, they elected to go with blue instead of red. So you got blue chapter numbers and reference numbers. And also the words of Christ in the New Testament over here are in blue. So you don't get a great contrast. In fact, when you're studying in various kinds of light and things, you're not going to get much contrast. It's not necessarily helpful. I like having that boom, red versus black. Very easy to identify, quicker. But look at these. They have all this space, and look how hard it is to read these little letters. You can barely read the verse numbers and then the little, why they make them so tiny? Now, let me show you something, just for a comparison. This is an Allen Brevier Clarendon, okay? The only reason this one is anywhere near the size of this is because it has a lot of yap, but look at that. Look how small that text block is. In fact, this little Clarion has more yap than this thing right here. In fact, for our $220 Bible, oops, you're not getting a whole lot of yap for your money, okay? Here's an Allen, cost less, way nicer goatskin. Look at that. Ooh. Okay. Anyway, so I want to show you something. Take a look at this. 22 GSM paper. Very lightweight, thin paper, right? Because this thing has got a monster concordance in here, a cyclopedic concordance, right? And 100,000 references. Now, the NKJV Bibles really only have about 72 or 74,000 references. 100,000 references. A huge cyclopedic concordance, plus note paper, plus maps, plus other features. And look how they're able to fit everything in here. Yet, this is only 22 GSM. This is 10 GF 32 versus 22. Yeah, look at that. More spacing here, but I'm having trouble reading this here. But let's look at when you look at the little bitty tiny little numbers here, I can make that out, right? Yeah, there's a T, U, and you can see a little Y, right? You can see the little tiny letter. Chapter 26, 36, the ampersand, 22, right? Here, it's barely readable. They're so tiny. Why did they make them so tiny? It's useless, to be honest with you, because it's so small. You gotta sit there and squint and everything. When you're looking for, look at the verse numbers. I hate those tiny little verse numbers. At least here, look at your verse numbers. This tiny little Bible, look at your verse numbers here compared to that. You can barely make out what the verse number is because look at that. It's the same size as the superscripts. That sucks, in my opinion. I hate that. You got all this space. You got a 32 GSM paper, but you can't make out these numbers. And then they put it in blue, so there's not a lot of contracts with it either. Okay? So let me go back here to the front and show you what may help explain some of these things. Look at that. Printed and bound in China. This is not an American-made Bible. It's not made in England. This ain't Netherlands paper. This is China. A $220 China Bible with a semi-fancy goatskin here, which personally, compared to my Skylers and these, I think this is a little bit overrated or hyped up on the company's part. So you got this sloppy, pathetic ribbons here, all glued in all haphazardly. You got wrinkled up pages, really sloppy, uneven gilding and art gilding, bleeding, wrinkled pages, hard to read, verse numbers, little tiny verse numbers. So this is not verse format, it's paragraph format. And when you got to go looking for little verse numbers in here, it's just a pain in the butt. And look how tiny that little bitty quotation mark and the punctuation. Sometimes when you're reading through this, you're looking wait a minute, is that a W or a quotation mark? Because these little tiny letters next to it is hard to discern because they're so, to distinguish because they're so tiny. All right? No note paper. And then let me show you another big drawback. Okay? $220. But that's not the worst part. Okay? I'm going to show you another negative, but the worst part I'm going to describe to you in detail at the end. Let me go ahead and get this last negative out of the way. This is the Shepherd. Now this is a big old study Bible, the MacArthur Second Edition. MacArthur Second Edition has 25,000 notes. Lots of references. This is the NKJV MacArthur Study Bible. A big, heavy Bible. But check it out. Watch this. When you put these two together, look at that. They're aligned, top and bottom. Look at that. It's actually bigger. Look at the width. Straighten them out. Look at that. Maybe the MacArthur is slightly wider. We're talking about a study Bible. Look at the thickness. All right. There's a MacArthur Study Bible. Oh. This is a very heavily used study Bible here. So, all right. Here is the MacArthur Study Bible. Okay. And this is the Humble Lamb. Look at the thickness. 25,000 notes. Big old study Bible. This is actually taller. Just as thick. Almost as heavy. But this is not a study Bible. It's only a reference Bible. This is not a portable Bible. Now, this is a quite portable Bible because it's nice and light. It's got 36 chips in paper, plenty of space and all that. This is also a very portable Bible. This is a handy size. This is not a small Bible. This is just as adequate for desk study or sermons or travel carried around with you. Because of its size, it's ideal. It's a big enough Bible. It's a rather full-size Bible, but look at that. Look how much smaller it is. Let's see the sides over here. Look at that. And this is same weight of paper, thinner. Granted, this doesn't have the references, but this is a bulky, big Bible. Now, there are some features here. It's got this artsy stuff. Where's it at? It's got these black and white pictures. I'm not a fan of, having pictures. At least it's got a little description here on some of them. I think there are about 60 of them. I don't really care for this stuff. But, it's nice to have. Is it a big selling point? I would say don't put too much hope in it. It's just a black and white picture. It's not anything to write home about. To be honest with you, if you could save size, because I think there's 60 of those illustrations, maybe there's not that much. I don't know, maybe 30? I think 60. Anyway, I'd rather have a thinner. Take those out and give me a lower price and a more portable version without those darn pictures. I don't need them. All right. So it's a big, bulky Bible. It's not portable. It's a very expensive Bible for made in China with sloppy quality. Okay. I'm sorry. I wanted to really I was very excited to buy this Bible. I anticipated for a couple of weeks waiting for this in the mail. And I was quite disappointed when I got it because I really was looking forward thinking, oh, Humble Lamb's the next greatest thing in premium Bibles. It's not. Sorry to inform you, it's not. Now, the worst part, the biggest negative of all, I'm going to explain to you in enough detail so you'll understand exactly what the deal is. So, I contact the company after I get it. And I let them know, listen, and I took some high quality pictures. I took some pictures of the gilding and all the crumpled pages and the bleeding at the top of the pages and the uneven. And I took a picture of the twisted ribbons. And I said, look, I've got to be honest with you. It takes a lot of time if you're not rich to save up $220. And I just didn't feel that this was the quality it should be for $220. If you don't mind, I would like to exchange it for one that you inspect and make sure that it's not all crumpled and all jammed up in the twisted in the ribbons, and, I'd appreciate it. So they were like, okay, well, you can ship it back to us, and once we receive it, we'll send you a replacement. So I emailed them. I said, listen, I waited a couple weeks, to get this in the mail. If I send it back to you, I have to wait for shipping then, wait for you to process it, and then ship it out again, and then wait for shipping to return. Is there a way you can expedite it? So maybe cross shipping? And they sent me an email saying, well, we're going to make an exception and we'll go ahead and do that for you. I was like, okay, great. So then they said, then they asked me for my order number. The funny thing is my order number was at the subject of all the emails we'd been exchanging. Now keep in mind, days and days pass as this goes on, because I'll email them in the morning and they'll get back to me the next day at like 10 p.m. I'll email like 9 in the morning and they get back to me next day at 10 p.m. Then then I respond to that and wait again another day. And days go by. I finally get to the point they say, all right, we're going to do your exchange and we're going to send it out tomorrow. And we're going to send you a return label so you can send the other one back to us. I was like, cool. I'm looking forward to it. So then I get the return label in the email. So, okay, let me go back a little bit. First email, we're going to make an exception. We're going to exchange it for you for another one, and we're going to send it out to you. Second email, we're going to make an exception, and we're going to go ahead and cross ship it for you. So we're going to send you a return label, and we're going to ship your replacement tomorrow. Third email, I get the return label. Then fourth email, upon further inspection, we're not going to send you another replacement because we can't find any that don't have perfect ribbons. And now keep in mind, every time I have to respond to them, it takes days to get past each thing because they're so slow to respond. So after I got that email, a little while later, I got another email saying, your replacement has shipped. I was like, oh, okay, good. I also got a text at the same time, around the same time, but it was all in broken English and it was kind of a disoriented language, didn't make sense. And they basically said the same thing. So I thought, okay, maybe whoever it was like totally on drugs or mixed up or something, because I got my shipping notification afterwards. Okay, just a little hiccup, because they did promise me twice they're going to send me the replacement. So it doesn't make any sense they would just suddenly say, oh, sorry, we're not going to send it to you. I thought, okay, well, maybe all the messed up speech and stuff, maybe it was because it's a China Bible, and maybe whoever it was spoke on behalf was from China, and maybe that could explain the, weird wording of the text or whatever. So I'm sitting here excited. All right, I am looking forward to having this Bible, but not defective. So then the next day, I email them and I say, listen, I'm confused here because you send me a promise to replace it. Then you send me another promise to replace it and make an exception, and that you're going to ship it the next day. Then the next day you send me a message, and I'm expecting it in the mail already. Then you send me a message saying, on second thought, you're not going to ship a replacement. Then you cite you don't have perfect ribbons. I say, okay, that's fine. I never said I expect perfect ribbons. I just don't want them all twisted and gnarly like that. It's just something personally I don't like. So if you don't mind, it's fine. And they cited. When they made their promise, they cited specifically, we're going to replace it because of the creased pages. All right. That's what they cited, not the ribbons. But then I started saying, oh, wait a minute. Why are they saying ribbons aren't perfect? I never said I expect them to be perfect. I just don't want them messed up. Then they were arguing with me, and they were very condescending. And I said, then they started saying bent ribbons. And I said, what do you mean bent ribbons? Never once did I say anything about bent ribbons. I never said that they had to be perfect either. I just don't want screwed up ribbons, okay? But it sounded to me like they were just making excuses, trying to make some excuse to get out of sending me the replacement that they promised. Now, this is a Bible company who also puts out videos talking about Christianity and being a real Christian and all this stuff, yet very dishonest and deceptive, trying to make excuses to weasel their way out of sending me a replacement. And I did get the tone at the very outset on the first response from them that they were a little bit irritated that I requested a replacement because I expected $220 quality and not this sloppiness with bleeding gild and creased up pages all over the place and, you know, these gnarly ribbons. Sorry, I'm not that picky, but I know that there are certain things in quality that you have to expect, and I can show you. I've already shown you several other Bibles, expensive and cheap, and middle of the road, that exceed this quality. So you can't say I'm being picky. I see this quality in the other people. Why can't they do this? I don't know. It's very sloppy in my opinion. In any case. So after going back and forth with them and saying, look, I don't care if you send me another color. It's okay. Send the black goatskin or whatever. It's fine. They said, no, the decision is final and that's it. I was like, what? And I said, listen, you promised to send me a replacement. And see, by this point, I was already like, hey, listen, actually, by this point, I was already thinking to myself, no, I insist. I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight them to replace this thing because they made the promise to do so. If I promise something, I'm going to keep my promise. Any Christian who says something has to be a man of their word. And if you're doing business with somebody and you make a deal and this is keep in mind, what they send me in writing is a legally binding contract. Because they sent me in writing, the promise to do this and that, my confirmation of it by sending my order number, which they already had in this subject line of all my emails anyway, and then confirming it with the promise to ship the next day, specifying, citing the creased pages and the gild bleed, right? A legally binding contract, which I agreed to, that they broke. They just suddenly reneged on their contract. What kind of business practice is that for a Christian Bible company? So they refused. So I said, all right, I got to send them this Bible, wait for the shipping. And because I bought it with PayPal, PayPal takes like a week or sometimes 2 weeks to process a refund. So it'll take a week for them to get this Bible back. How long it takes, 2 or 3 days for them to process the refund. And then a week or 2 weeks for PayPal to credit my account. It's not worth it. It will be so much easier if they just sent me a replacement like they promised to do twice. So I said, okay, if you're going to be so dirty and dishonest and try and make up all the excuses, and you know what they even did? When I told them, I said, why are you talking about bent ribbons? I never said anything about bent ribbons. Why are you trying to make excuses? They were so condescending. They sent me a dictionary definition of what the word bent means. I should probably show you all these emails. But so I had to make a dispute with PayPal. Of course, that was on Friday. They don't bother responding that day because they're trying to just make it just draw it out as long as they can. So they don't respond Friday. Then PayPal's not going to expect them to respond Saturday and Sunday. So they get they squeeze that little extra day in there by not responding Friday at all. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today's Monday. Well, guess what? PayPal isn't going to force them to respond to me in a quick manner. But I took a lot of detailed pictures when I first sent them this, and then I also sent those to PayPal. Followed a dispute with PayPal. I had to go fight them with PayPal to get a partial refund because they refused to send me the replacement that they had promised me. Twice they promised me. Very specifically, they said they were going to ship the replacement tomorrow, the very next day. What happened was, instead of doing that, they let me think that it's in the mail, and all of a sudden, after that, they say, oh, they renege on our legally binding contract, which they were the ones who came up with the agreement. I agreed to it. They reneged on their own contract. So I had to fight them with PayPal to get a partial refund for this pitiful quality, this China Bible, for $220. So, very dishonest company. Very condescending, very frustrating, because they purposefully are so slow to respond to anything you send them. I hate to say this, but I don't recommend anyone buys from this company. You're not even getting American-made quality. You're not even getting Netherlands. You're getting Chinese paper. Now, to be honest with you, and I don't have any affiliation with anyone for any of the reviews I do, with any company or anything. I only have 135 subscribers or something. Huh. But Thomas Nelson, McLaren, and Sovereign make a Bible that's better quality than this, but very similar, without this stupid art, okay? Without this, throwback black and white art, okay? Thomas Nelson Sovereign, China-made Bible, same kind of paper, probably better quality paper than this. I think it's actually a little bit weightier paper with less, no bleed in the gilding, a really nice and even gilding. And I don't think the Sovereign has an art gilding, but at least when you fan it out, it doesn't do that. And at least you don't have pages that are all bled over the edges, okay? And those only cost about $60, $50, $60. The McLaren's another nice, really nice Bible. Then about $100, which is less than half the price of this, you can get the Zondervan Premium. Better quality than this. Is it the same quality as even the Brevier Clarendon, which is about 160 or 70, 170 bucks, I think, or 160 bucks when you convert it to euros, maybe 150. Depends on the time, the exchange rate. But no, it's not near this quality. It's not near $150 Cambridge Clarion. It's not near a $99 Legacy Standard. It's not near $190 Allen Readers. So, Humble Lamb is a dishonest lamb. Okay? They don't shepherd the sheep, they shepherd the goats. I'm really disappointed with their dishonesty and their condescending service and their purposefully slow and latent responses. I had to fight them through PayPal to get a partial refund because they just refused to send me a replacement that they promised in writing twice to do. For whatever reason, they just suddenly decided to renege on their contract. I don't know why. I don't know why they just suddenly reneged on their own agreement. It would have been all over and done with. But I had to get PayPal to go after them because they're so dishonest, making up all kinds of excuses, being condescending and rude. Don't buy from Humble Lamb, in my opinion. You want to go ahead and do it, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll just assume buy Schuyler. Church Bible Publishers, great company. Really nice Bibles. The only thing with them, they don't have the art gilding, but it still looks nice when you fan out the papers. It's kind of a nice tan or brown color. Really nice gold gilding that's very even. Church Bible Pub, half the price of these. Great quality Bibles. Allen. Steadfast, 316. Not my favorite company, but you know what? I'll take Steadfast over Humble Lamb any day. Cambridge. Cambridge not nearly expensive. Take Cambridge over it. MacArthur Study Bible. Even. So, love it or hate it, that's the honest truth. $220? Sorry. This is a $50 Bible at best. You take the calfskin, maybe $75. I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. So, in any case, always brutally honest and upfront. I appreciate your support. I hope that you will continue to support my channel. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and help me grow this channel so I can continue to bring you good, brutally honest product reviews that you won't find anywhere else. Highly detailed, well thought through, and you won't be disappointed. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next review. Thank you.